Today's guest is a social media strategist for business owners who want to make an impact and get big results through organic and proven social media strategies. She's also the founder of Boutique Social, co-founder of the Social Squad Society, a wife, mom, Target junkie, and oat milk latte fanatic. And a fun fact, she used to work at CNN. Welcome to the Social Sunshine Podcast, the fantastic Shannon McKinstrie.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I got my oat milk right here.
You have it right there? Okay, I was wondering.
Always.
I really do love an oat milk latte, but what I found is that now I'm all picky about the kind of oat milk. Like,
well,
it's
now
overboard.
And now, now there's all this stuff like sunflower oil is bad for you. I'm like, great. It's like so I've tried them all. Just you gotta. I do my best. Like, right. I can't sacrifice. I've got to have my favorite creamer. It's just a thing.
It's got to be better than regular, like, run-of-the-mill dairy. I
hope, right? I'm like, watch in 10 years, I'll be like, oat milk's terrible for you. I'll be like, oh.
We're all going to die because we had oat milk 10 years ago. Yeah, no, I love oat milk as well. And then you worked at CNN. How long ago did you work there?
Ooh, many ages ago. It was when MySpace was a thing. So it was 2004. I was there till I think 2007, late 2006. So right after college, I went I moved down to Atlanta and worked at CNN, which I thought was going to be my dream job. I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I wanted to do forever. And I was like, this is not fun. It was just hard. It was overnights and it was holidays and getting paid hardly anything. But I've always loved writing. I love producing, editing. So I was behind the scenes. I was in the control room. I was in the feed department. And it was so much fun. But it helped me get here. Right. We all start somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Well, I feel like there's such a connection to that world of just a world of production. I have that in common just as like an actor, but like, no, I didn't never go to Hollywood, but like, I was on sets and stuff. So if you have experience just witnessing a production of some sort, it really does help you in the social media world. I feel like.
I love that. And I've met another content creator, social media manager down here in Raleigh, and we've hung out a few times, and her background, she's an actress. And we were talking about how that's helped her, so it's like, a lot of people in our field don't necessarily start in marketing, and you don't have to. And that's what's so cool is like, there's so many, again, it's authenticity, it's branding yourself, it's confidence, it's being able to have some fun. You don't have to have this background in media or marketing to be a successful content creator or just a business owner who wants to dabble in creating really fun content.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I love that about it too. Yeah. Okay. So after CNN, I've watched your founder story that you video that you did, that you shared, which was really smart. I love that. I need to make one of those. Yes. But for anybody that hasn't, that's listening, just give us a little background on how you even got started in working in social media.
Yeah, it was actually at CNN. So I worked overnights. Not the whole time I was there, but while I was on overnights, I was very lonely. And I spent a lot of time on Facebook and MySpace because I'm from the DC area. So all my family and friends were back home. And that's kind of how I kept in touch with everyone. And again, this was when you would write on people's walls on Facebook. Like there weren't businesses on Facebook. There weren't really businesses on MySpace, obviously, except like artists and things like that. So social media was still very much just a social place to get, catch up with friends and family. And then, I got really into just like the nerd in me, like once Facebook albums were a thing, every weekend in Atlanta after the club or whatever me and my girlfriends would go do, I'd be like, all right, we got to get these, upload like 100 photos to a Facebook album like we used to do. I still do sometimes, but I would literally spend all this time trying to think of the best photo album cover name. I would try to think of the best captions for every photo. Like literally it like brought me joy. But again, it's the writing, that part of me that's always loved, producing videos, that's all I basically did as a kid was walk around with the family camcorder. I took video production in high school. I would like spend, like most kids after school were going to do, I don't know, go to the movies. And I would like sit in the edit bays and edit videos of me and my friends, like nerd, which now we can just do from our phone, which would have saved me hours of my life as a teenager. But again, it's like, it kind of let me do that again. And I was like, this is really fun. So fast forward, all of a sudden, all these businesses are on Facebook. And that's around the time I moved home to DC, because I started just getting homesick. And that's when all of a sudden companies were starting to like show up on social media. And I was like, oh my gosh, this literally mixes everything I'm actually good at. Cause I'm not good at a lot of things. I always joke with people. I'm like, I'm not the smartest person in the room. In the corporate world, I was like, please, no one, just look, like, I'll just sit in the back, like no one call my name. So this is something I felt really confident in. And then at a 9 to 5, I bounced after I left CNN. I had a major, like, what am I doing with my life? Like I thought, being a director was going to be what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I just felt really lost. Then took some marketing gigs here and there. And then I just offered the last job I was at when I was pregnant with my daughter. I was like, hey, who's managing the Facebook page? They're like, no one, we just have it. And I was like, can I do it? And of course I was obsessed with it. And it wasn't even part of my job description, but they eventually added it to my job. And then long story short, had my daughter, and that's where you saw the founder story. And I didn't go back to that job, but that position allowed me, because since it was a sales marketing position, it did allow me to start dabbling in social media marketing for a business, a company, which was in the education space. So it was a lot of fun. It just kind of like all was just long, windy road to where I am now. And It's been a journey, but it's been awesome.
And then so how did all the other things in your business come along? Like actually doing the social media management work as your own business, but then you also do like education, right? You have online education opportunities for people that want to learn. Like, how did all that come? Do you feel like it all kind of organically came about? Or did you go, I want to have a business, I want to have courses, I want to have, like, how did that all happen for anybody out there that's, got ideas and stuff and wants to?
No, I didn't think anyone would ever listen to me or give a, rat's about anything I would have to say.
Speak however you want to speak.
What'd you say?
I say you can speak however you want to speak.
Okay, cool. I was like, I never know if I'm allowed to, because I don't really curse on Instagram, because I know a lot of people like their kids are watching, but then in person, you're like, oh gosh. Because I'm like, I don't know whose kids are watching. So yeah, I didn't think, because again, I was always the shy kid. That's why I hid behind the camera and did my thing. But when I started, I had a really rough birthing experience with my first daughter. And I was like, I cannot go back to work. Like I was sick over it. I mean, we were ready to literally drop her off. We had hired, the nanny, or not the nanny, but I had found a nanny. And it was like 2 days before, I just had a complete breakdown. And I was like, I can't leave her. And we had no money. And my husband was like, well, we got to figure something out. And I was like, okay, well, since I was now in social media and I knew a lot of people in real estate, my mom was in real estate. I had friends in the mortgage industry, and I was like, do you guys think like some people would maybe hire me and I could like do their stuff? And they're sure, it's like $200 for Facebook and LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I thought I was so rich. I was like, oh my gosh. And, because saving money on daycare, it almost even out, because my husband was basically like, if you can at least get to like 800, 1,000 a month, that will at least pay for like the groceries, the diapers, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So I got there in a couple months just by, literally, Brittany, I would walk into these real estate brokerages I didn't even have a laptop back then. I had a cell phone and my husband's laptop, like his government laptop. So I was like, okay, so I would go in and I would do this dusty presentation on like OG Canva, like back when Canvaverse came out. Or maybe it was PowerPoint back then. And anyway, it doesn't matter. It was ugly. And I would go in and I would talk to these realtors about the power of Facebook and LinkedIn and branding. And because I already knew all this stuff, right? I already knew it. I knew that they didn't know it, especially real estate agents in 2013, 2014. And yeah, I would just do my little presentation and I would leave with 3 clients. And I was like, oh my gosh, these 3 people are going to pay me $200 a month to like post on their Facebook and LinkedIn. I only did Facebook, LinkedIn back then. And it was awesome. And then I did it again. A title company got wind of it. And then they hired me to come in and do presentations, and they would start paying me $2,000 a month. to do their social. And I thought I was going
Nice.
to pass out. I was like, this is insane. They were like, you need to be charging more, number one. Like they literally put
Oh,
me, they were the nicest people. And I still go there every 6 months or so and do a presentation for their people. They're in Washington, D.C. called Smart Settlements. They're amazing. But yeah, I basically took over their Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and just blew them up. And after about a year, they brought it back in house. But then the deal was like, can you just come in and teach our people every few months? And then again, I would leave a client. So if you want to get started in this, I can't stress just like going to local places, because you're just like this little carrot they dangle to get people in their door, right? Like the title companies, they need real estate agents to use them as a title company. How do they get the people in? They do seminars and stuff for free to get them in the door, get them on their email list, right? That's the way that they do their funnel.
right.
And yeah, and it helped me start speaking in public, which was terrifying. And now it's my favorite thing to do. And then that organically led to more social media management opportunities, but then I couldn't do any more social media management. I was doing theirs full time and 4 other realtors. And I was like, I'm dying over here. Then I started coaching, and then I started doing courses. So again, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't have a coach.
Sure.
I didn't have a coach or anything until, oh my gosh, I don't even know, 2018. I
Yeah.
hadn't invested anything, Brittany, like not even a website. That's why I tell everyone, especially, I mean, obviously our industry is a little bit different, but like the social media world, like I think we think so outward because we can help everyone in the world. But I'm like, your local community needs you really badly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a long way of saying it all just kept going. And I was like, what's happening? It was
Right.
wild. It was also that time where all of a sudden everyone was like, oh my gosh, I need social media. And they did it. They pushed it off like, oh, it's a fad. And then they realized it was not.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and it sounds like it does sound like it like made sense, because you're like doing your business where you're doing, like you're saying, all of those accounts. And then if you can do like coaching, consulting, classes, all these other kinds of things, it like diversifies it, right? But also like kind of get more bang for your buck as far as like your energy and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah. And again, because I was managing, it was so much easier to coach, because I'm like, well, I see what's working for these guys. Let's see how we can do it for you. But obviously no account is the same, blah, blah, blah. But
Sure.
It made it so that I could easily start scaling my business. And I was like, holy crap, like I'm actually making money. And, I didn't go into this thinking I was going to make money. It was literally so we could pay grocery bills and diaper bills and part of the rent. And now my business is like,
like
it's just crazy. Like social media is just so dope. Like it
really is. I always say, if you hate social media, you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. And I
Just
also
because you can customize it to what you like. You can curate your feed, you can customize your experience, you can control how much you do it or not. Like you can do all those things. And when you do it and then you meet really cool people, that's the coolest part, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's such a beautiful part of life.
I love that you said that, because I'm always like, well, if you don't like social, then you don't like people. And that's fine if you don't like people, but like it just says you don't want to connect with humans and you don't want to make an impact is what it's, but like you said, you're doing it wrong. Like it's almost like I know you love to like do your treadmill and stuff, right? So like I always tell people, I'm like, I mean, the fitness coaches I work with and then I coach, I'm like, I know for me, it took me years to figure out what kind of workout I liked. Right. And we don't all have to do the same workouts, just like we don't all have to do the same, watch the same shows. You don't have to do the same type of content.
Right.
People.
Right.
So that's why they're doing it wrong. They're just trying to do what someone else is doing. And you can still see what other people are doing, but like bring it on home to your own brand.
Right. What I like about you that is cool, because it's more real and I relate to it, probably because we're in the same kind of work, is that when you are talking about social media on social media, you aren't, it's not like you're trying to, what do you call it whenever you are just trying to get attention? What do they call it? Clickbait and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Like, and the information you're delivering is based upon someone that actually has worked in the industry, is truly a professional, that's been around for a while. And I
Mhm.
relate to that. I'm the same. So,
Yes.
and that's not what you always see from the quote unquote experts on social
No.
media. So to
Right.
me, that's, you know, and I think that that's probably why, and you probably would agree, a lot of people, your content will resonate with people, or they'll feel kind of more warm and fuzzy about you, because they can just tell, like, okay, she's being real. She's not telling me do all these flashy, crazy things
Right.
and magical things are going to happen. Like, you're being real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you are too. I feel like you're very honest and transparent and you have fun, right? You can tell you're having fun. And I tell everyone, the more fun you have, the faster you're going to grow.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're forcing it, we're going to feel it. But yeah, I think, unfortunately, a lot of the experts out there too, like they might have had some magic strike that, like, sometimes magic just strikes.
Sure.
And just because that worked for you, that's not going to work for me. And there's a
Right.
lot of people that have grown up way more faster than I have. And again, there's other things going on in the background sometimes that we don't know or we can't control. It's funny. I think I talked about it on stories the other day. Like, even when I repurpose a reel that's gone viral, it might not go viral the second time.
Right.
Sometimes things just strike when the fire's hot. Like, maybe it's, I don't know.
Right.
Most of the time I can tell, especially with my clients, I'm like, this one's going to do better than this one. We all have different goals with our content. But yeah, that's why it's like, just test things out, have some fun.
Right.
It really should be the fun part. I know it is work, let's be honest, but like, even my husband's like, gosh, you should like take a break. But I'm like, but I love it. It's my outlet. Like,
Yeah.
for me, creating content is my outlet. If it's not
Right.
your outlet, then, reach out to people like us. Like, we
Right.
can help you. Because
Yeah.
yeah, for some people it does feel like a chore and they hate it. And that's
Right.
fine, but that's why we're here.
Right. Right. True.
Yeah.
So you mentioned growth. So talk to me about your growth on Instagram, because you have a high amount of followers, and it's not, I mean, it's not easy to do that, in my opinion. So
Right. No, it's
what
not.
do you contribute because you have well over 100,000 followers now. When you look back on that,
Yeah.
what do you think contributed to that? Was there like a turning point where you got more momentum? What the heck
Yeah.
is going on there? Because there's gonna be so many people listening
I
that want to
so
know a real answer, you know?
yeah, it's like, I so wish I could pinpoint it. I really do, because I'm like, all of a sudden it just started going crazy. Um, and I will say, I do want to stress, though, the importance of obviously an engaged community, right? Like, I also think, Brittany, one of the main things was, like, I grew very slow for years.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't reach 10K followers until 2020. No, I lied. Yes, it was right during the pandemic. I reached 10K followers.
Same.
I had been on Instagram since 2016. I
Yeah.
think 2016 is when I actually started my account. Now, I didn't start showing up actually consistently until late 2018. Early 2019 was when I finally was like, why am I doing this for all my clients and not doing it for myself?
Yeah.
I had no strategy. I would just like share things. I would do what most of us do, just share. You have an idea, throw it up there, disappear. But
Sure.
I was always very consistent on stories. And that's how I got clients for years on Instagram. I barely posted, but I was always up in stories because I like stories.
Right.
And that's how people would, that's how I used Instagram to convert. But I wasn't really looking at it to grow, because I honestly, I still had, my daughter at home, blah, blah, blah. So then finally I was like, wait, I started blowing up that one account, and I was like, okay, now I know what I did with them. I'm gonna do the same thing. But again, I didn't get to 10K until several years. And then
Right.
Reels came out, and Reels, I think, because of, obviously, it helps that I have background in editing and things like that, and kind of knowing the timing of things, which is
Right.
something I love to teach people, because I'm like, a lot of it is just like, your reel was too long, or,
Right.
the hook wasn't grabby enough. And that comes from, I think, media background and things like that too. But I think that's what's helped me a lot, is just I stick to basically the same script. I know
Right.
what my people like. I know what resonates with them. But again, I've got to know my people for like 4 years.
Right.
So I know them, and I didn't, and even if you go back to my old posts, and they're all still up there, and they're terrible, ugly Canva graphics, and like the stupid filters, and it's
Same.
pretty fun.
Yes.
I left them up because I'm like, hey, let's leave them up. It's fun to go back. I say the same stuff. Like, if you scroll way back, it's like relatability, relevance.
Yep.
It's the same thing. So I've just done the same dang thing. And I tell everyone, I've used the same strategy technically all these years, just making my Instagram page somewhere where people feel like they belong, they feel heard, and they feel seen, but also that pushes them a little bit out of their comfort zone, because it is work. You got to do you got to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Reels just really took me to a whole crazy level that I never could have imagined. But that doesn't mean you have to create Reels. I see people killing it with their carousels, but I think my voice is stronger on video.
Yeah.
You just kind of find what works for you. But yeah,
Right.
I think I had several go viral. But I really do think it's because I've spent years market research, and just knowing my people. But I don't want
Right.
people to think it's gonna take them 4 years. But
Right. But it
right,
might, but it might. Yeah.
it might, and that's
Um,
okay. That's fine.
right. Well, what about, something I like to ask only, and I've only been able to ask this to a few key people because not enough people do this right. But what would you say about your messaging? Because you say you've used kind of the same strategy in
Yeah,
general for
yeah.
all this time. And I know a few other people similar to that have had lots of growth and lots of success, if you will,
Mhm.
on social media, because they are driving that message home every freaking time they're posting anything and super focused and all that. And I mean, yeah, everyone, somebody has a birthday every once in a while
Yeah,
or something, cool, fine. But like otherwise, it's like I am focused as hell and I am delivering my message but I think people are like, oh, I should totally change things up and reinvent the wheel because
yeah.
surely I shouldn't be repeating myself, but like you should. But can you speak on like repetition in social media and just how you look at that and then how you kind of keep coming up with different ways to say the same thing essentially?
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes. Okay. So let's say the way I like to do it, and again, everyone does it differently. Like I am not the wizard, right? We all have different things. I just want to get that very clear. Um, I always tell with everything, I'm like, with social media at this point, I'm like, two things can always be true. But
It's
what
actually true. Yeah.
yes, but what I do is, okay, let's say I know my people are worn out. They're burnt out. I mean, we're all just trying our best. So what I like to do, okay, so I know that about them, right? And I know that what they struggle with is what kind of content is going to get seen. So if I take that one idea, what are 3 ideas I can come up with it? And the way I break it down to 3 is, one is empathy, excuse me, one is a tip of some sort, and the third is what's something funny, relatable from it. So if it's content, like let's say it's coming up with content ideas, like maybe educational would be like, here's a cool place to get inspired. Or like I love to tell people, like, go into the comments section of their competitors and see what people are talking about.
Right.
Like, right, there's one idea. So that's the educational piece. Anything that solves a problem, essentially. The other one would be the empathy, which would be like something kind of, again, I put myself in their shoes where it's like kind of reassuring to them, which normally for me is like, it's okay if you have nothing to post today, like take a breath, put the phone down, come back tomorrow, right? So that would be kind of more of that, like making them breathe a sigh of relief. And then the third would be the funny, relatable, which is the shtick I love doing, which is like poking fun at like creating a reel and getting 5 likes, right? Where
Right.
I usually use the trending audio. So that's kind of what I do. So I repeat the same message over and over again, telling them it's going to be okay, giving them a tip to help them, and then also poking fun at it
So good.
is what I usually do with all my things. So like, I mean, and what I do with a lot of clients, like we'll pull up a Google sheet and I'll be like, brain dump, go. What's every hot take you have? What's every opinion you have? What's every thing you hate to hear in your industry? And then we just take all that. And like I said, we just do 1, 2, 3. What's something empathetic we could say to this? What's a tip we could say to this? And what's something that we could poke fun at and make people go, you got me, called out, That's
Right,
where
right.
we love to be called out.
That's so good though, too, to have those 3 in your mind and have that kind of
Yeah.
rotation of it.
Yes.
And
That's it. Every
then
week.
it makes it feel like, okay, it's fresh, but you're still talking about the same thing, but it is fresh.
Right.
You've got a different kind of like take on it each time. I just like, do you see, you agree to, do you hear that from people? Like people really want to change things really often, really like
We
a
do.
lot. And I'm
Double
like, well,
down on what's working.
calm
Just
down.
double down. And you know what I
Yeah.
think it is too? I think a couple of years ago, we felt like we had to switch it up, keep it
Yeah.
fresh, blah, 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 blah. And that probably was like what a lot of us were even saying, maybe like, oh, switch it up. But now we're all so tapped out in that capacity that like, that's why marketing is in a whole new era. It's like, no, please repeat yourself. Like You
Yeah.
know, the rule of 7 in marketing. I'm like, that was from 100 billion years
It's
ago.
probably like 27 now or something.
Literally. Yeah. I'm like, but luck. And I know that makes people go, oh my God. I'm like, well, if you share 5+ stories a day, there's 5, you know, I'm like, you'll
Sure.
get
Yeah.
there in
It
no time.
adds up.
So it adds up fast, but like, we have to say it over and over again and obviously we're following more people. Now we're on Threads and on Twitter's changing their name. I'm like, it's a lot, right? So it's like
Always changing.
always changing. So just keep saying the same stuff in different ways. And it was actually funny. Someone I know put a really funny reel up, or like one of those funny memes. And I was like, this is perfect for your industry. You should take it, flip it on its head and do it to this audio. And she was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, you don't have to say the same thing. If there's something that resonates with you that you love and you shared in stories and people were like eating it up, how can you say it in your own words? Like
Right.
nothing's new. I'm not saying copy someone, absolutely not. But there's things you can take from your own experience and perspective and make it fresh. But you already know that's a good content idea because you shared it. Like if you shared it, it's good.
Yeah.
Probably. So
right. True. You wouldn't have shared it if it sucked. Yeah, exactly.
right. So like, how can you, even if it's like about another industry, like how they word it, what's the framework? Like just get in there and start studying why you were so attracted to that piece of content. Like, why did you share it? Why did it anger you? Why did it excite you? Why did it make you laugh? I think if everyone would just take some time to just learn how to write good copy, they'd be a lot further off.
Yes.
And that's, I hate saying that, but it's like anything in life, you got to work. You got to work.
Right. Well, and that actually relates to what I was going to ask you next is like your opinion on just like the industry of social media in general of where we are now, because, well, as you mentioned before, like businesses weren't really, taking it seriously. And I think that a lot of people still don't, and not only take it serious because it all has to be so serious and robotic, but you know what I mean? Understanding that it's a substantial, important thing in our world, especially in business. And how do you feel like the progress that we've made with that? Do you still interact with people? I would guess you might. I know I do, that still don't understand the value of it. And I try to educate, but you know, some people just don't feel ready yet. It's very interesting, right? It's like this, you and I have like witnessed the changes over time.
It's kind of cool. We've been here watching. Yeah. And you know what? I was actually talking to a group of social media managers recently, and I was like, if I have to explain to someone the importance of social media, I just won't anymore.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm like, I don't need to defend what I do. I don't need to impress people. Like, if you get it, the girls who get it, right? If you don't. And hey, like, again, I am obsessed with advertising. I'm obsessed with marketing. Like everywhere I look, I'm studying copy and billboard. Like I nerd out about it. If you hate it, there's people that can help you. But it's not going anywhere. Like it's here. It's here to stay. So get on board or don't. But of course, there's plenty of companies out there that aren't on social media and they're killing it.
Right.
So you don't have to be. But if you want to build a community, like then you should get on there. And it's really fun to watch like what brands are doing right now, especially the big brands. Like I tell people, I'm like, go look at Taco Bell and go look at American Eagle. And it's like, nothing's overly curated. It's all like, it's nothing fancy. It's very simple. So take that as an advantage. And, you know, I think years ago, I mean, I even taught in my membership like 4 years ago, the one I have with my business partner, Emily, we taught like how to shoot a flat lay. Remember flat lays?
Yes.
I'm like, that was an actual training. And I'm like, oh my gosh, embarrassing. But like, then flat lays were the jam. They were just, you know, an overhead shot of your computer and your coffee. And it was like super, super cute. And now it's like, no, we want to see the spilled coffee. We want to see, you know, so it's just interesting. So I tell people all the time, if you've been shying away from it because you think you need to be really good at or you need to spend a lot of money on photos, or you need this picture perfect kitchen or whatever it is, it's like, no, this is your time to shine because we want, So like, even if you look at the big accounts, you'll be like, oh my gosh, it looks like my neighbor shot this, right? It's like, it's nothing fancy.
No, it's not. It's so true. I was thinking the same thing about Sonic the other day. I was looking at it for a friend of mine, that
Uh-huh.
has a ton of Instagram followers. And so I've been trying to talk to some brands for him. And I looked at Sonic and I was like, holy crap, like my 9-year-old could do y'all's social media. Like, I mean, and no disrespect, but it just
No,
proves like
I
it's
get what
not
you're
meant to
saying.
be
Yes.
fancy. Yeah. It's like,
No, no,
it's
my daughter shoots real. I mean, she saves because she doesn't have social media because she's 9.
yes.
Um, we're not anywhere close to that. I'm like,
No,
we'll
same. No.
go for another day. But she saves reels and like saves into my, she screen records them, saves. I'm like, you could teach a class. And she's done some of the reels audios and she nails the humor of it. And I'm like, that's scary. So yeah, like it's, I love that you said that though. Cause again, it's not that we're saying like, give your social media to your cousin's kid because but like, it's not that hard. Just like
Right.
learn how to use it. And
Right.
um, all we
Right.
want is authenticity. I know that word has been around for way too long and it's so boring, but like,
It's true.
that's it. If they can say, I feel like I know you, you've done your job. And here, same with like,
Yes.
if you're a hair salon, I want to know what it feels like to walk in before I walk in.
Right.
Right. So like show the behind the scenes. And I know I've been talking behind the scenes since I've been blue in the face for years. I'm like, that's what we want at the end of the day. Like, what's it going to look like to work with you?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and that's a good way that that businesses can you're selling without selling. So you're not like posting something like my green
Yes.
widgets are on sale today. They're 15% off, but you show what it's like to work with you or what it's like behind the scenes or what goes into making your hats or whatever. You're selling, but you're not being salesy. So, I mean, and it's interesting too. How fun is that to watch like behind the scenes of anything, right? Like, remember like when you would get the DVD back in the day, and then like you could get the version that had the extended features.
Yes.
And we always wanted to watch behind the scenes.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that should be a post. You should make that a post. Who remembers? But seriously, and I think, with nostalgia blowing up, I mean, nostalgia marketing's always been a big deal, but like with it right now, we're all just wanting a simpler time. Even though I love this era we're in because I wouldn't have a business without it, but like,
right.
right. Like, I don't want to go backwards. No, thank you. I'd be like in a phone book, just hoping and praying someone wants to talk to me. But like, yeah, think about what it felt like to open that Blockbuster. You know what I mean? Like when we're watching these unboxings and hey, there's actually this really cool boutique that I saw on TikTok. And I was like, this is so genius. Every boutique needs to do this. Where it's like, hey, we're going to box up this thing for a customer in Alabama. And they're like, and they're packing it up and they're like putting it in once they ship it out, they're like, thanks, Amanda. And I'm like, freaking genius.
So genius.
I want a video shouting out and like seeing what it looked like for them to pack it. Like, I mean, obviously that won't work for big box companies, but
Sure.
I don't know. Genius.
That's special. Yeah. Cause then
It's so
Amanda
special.
or whomever can go and
Mhm.
literally see that. That's amazing.
Yep. And I was like, that's so smart. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of the content out there too, it's like for you and I, it's like, oh, what's what's Brittany's favorite mic for a podcast? What's Shannon's favorite ring light for, it's like, they want to know what we're using. And it's so crazy. And I can't tell you how many times like someone's like, what tripod do you use? And I'll just put it on stories. I'm like, this is the tripod. And then I get tagged in theirs. And like, it's just creating this fun little community of helping each other out.
Right.
And like, that's what social media is at the end of the day. It's like helping others, feeling seen, having some fun. I hate saying it's not that deep, but it really isn't that deep.
It doesn't have to be that deep all the time.
No,
Yeah.
you got to learn it, but that doesn't mean it has to be that deep. Like it's like card games. Like you got to learn how to play the card game, but it's like, you don't have to toss
But
the
it's still
table.
fun. Yeah. Yeah. You've said the word community several times.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you about that before we wrap up, because it's important. I know it's important, but I think that there's still some confusion out there about like, what the hell does she mean? Build a community on social media. Can you just like give a basic look at that for somebody so they can understand literally what that even means?
Yeah. And I think it was Sue Zimmerman years ago. I heard her say it's like a village and like pictured at like your neighborhood, right? If you're walking by with your dog, you're probably not going to put your head down unless, sometimes you might want to, but like
some of you might, but
but like, say hello, like to me, it's just being social, which is what social media is. And again, like, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, let's say, like they're all friends, they all know each other. Like you want to know most of the, obviously, as you grow, it's hard to know everybody.
Sure.
You're not going to. But when someone writes you a nice comment and says, oh my gosh, like that was such that, say, thanks, Sarah, like call them by their name. And it's just this feeling of being seen. We all want to join a community. Like I always say, like a church is a community. You walk into church, you might not know anybody, but you feel a part of the community.
Right.
So same thing, like even if there's people that follow me that are private and I don't know them, they feel a part of my community because I make them feel seen, heard, etc. But like, I will make sure to message them back. I'll make sure to talk to them. You know, obviously we can't get to every comment and DM all the time, but you know, we just make them feel a part of something special. Right. And like, again, if you can make people feel like they're a part of something, that they belong, like that's all we want as humans. And that doesn't mean use manipulative tactics to do it. It just means like, but again, like, I feel like if I saw you in the street, I'd be like, Britney, like, hey, blah, 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 right? We have same taste in music, right? So if you feel like you know someone, or if your people feel like they know you, you've done your job.
Right.
And like, bravo, even if you have 500 followers, if people are like, oh my gosh, and I can't even tell you the realtors that I worked with back in DC a lot, like they would, people would come up to them and be like, oh my gosh, give them a hug. And they'd be like, oh wait, I've never met you. And I'm like, that means you're killing it.
That's what you want. Yes.
And I'm like, they didn't have 10,000 followers. They had maybe 2,000 at the time. I'm like, that's dope. Like that's the raddest thing ever. And that means you're going to keep going, because I know. And of course, you know, there's the famous meme accounts. Like we don't know who's behind that, but that's different than most of our people. Right. So if you are a business, a personal brand, like that's what you need to be doing. You need to be making people feel, you need to make people feel connected to you. You know, we don't have to agree on all the same things. Like maybe people don't like oat milk, right? Like I get some people saying something.
I mean, I don't know what's wrong with those people, but yes, some people
I'm like, well, sorry, try to help you. But, you know, like we can still coexist. Again, think of schools, churches, like anything else that gives that sense of community. You want to give that somehow through the screen, and you can. You
totally can. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay. Before I let you go, what would you, I'm going to put you on the spot. We didn't plan this, but like, what would you say to, I'm sure you get asked this a lot, to somebody that's a business owner specifically that knows that their business needs to be more active on social media. Maybe they're not at all, or they like haven't posted in like 7 months. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that person that's like, I want to do this, I understand, but like, I'm kind of overwhelmed on getting started?
I think, well, again, if their goal is to grow, which is most people, I think one of the most powerful things you can do, like we said, behind the scenes, like get back to basics is usually what I tell people. Like, tell client stories, talk about what you're up to today. I even have clients where I'm like, what'd you do today? I'm like, that's your post. Talk about what you did today. What's in your camera roll? What is something you can share that's something really cool? Did you invest in something today for your own business? Did you help someone today? What is that? I think more and more we want that OG feel of social media. And with threads, I've seen it a lot. People are like, this is what social media is supposed to feel like. And I know people are already seeing and dropping engagement over there and all that stuff. But you know, with all things, there's hype and then there's not as much hype. Sure. But again, it's like, get back to basics, share what you're up to, share your core values. That's what I would do. Like the first thing I would do, if you're like, what do I post? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to share. I'm like, you've actually got a lot to say and a lot to share. Right. So I would start with, what's a hot take in your industry, or just what did you do today? And what story can you tell? If you can tell a story, you've got somebody, at least, you'll get someone to listen. Right. And I always like to say that Instagram is a storytelling app and that it always has been. And that's one thing that has not changed since the beginning. Right. So tell a story, just tell a story. And the cool thing is images still work. Obviously reels are great for more reach. Carousel posts are great too. But you know, if you're not sure how to do it, like graphics or reels yet, it's okay to start small with just some photos. And, right. But I think the most powerful thing you can do is just tell a quick story, why you started, how you helped someone. Right. Simple. Yeah, simple. It doesn't have to be super fancy, especially at first. It's like, come on, you know,
I feel like it's much more impressive when someone can actually be consistent and sustain a presence
Yeah.
than if it's like they come in balls to the wall with super fancy graphics and video professional, all
Yeah.
this stuff. But then maybe like that kind of dies away because
Yeah.
that's not easy to do. But like when somebody actually shows up and it's, clean looking content, but nothing fancy, but they can sustain it. They can keep going.
Yes. That's what it's about. And the other thing too, like looking at, I love to like, say there's someone you go to their account a lot. Why? Study it. Like
Yeah.
literally, and again, you're not copying anyone because you're you.
Oh, yeah.
But just what is it? What was it about them that grabbed you? And I love, you said something earlier. I meant to say, shoot. You said something about comfort or something, but like, it was interesting. There's this one influencer on TikTok that I'm obsessed with, and I watch every single video of hers, and they're long. And someone commented on one of her recent TikToks and said, "This account is my comfort. I can't explain it."
Aww.
And I was like, that's it.
That's nice.
I was like, that is what be someone's comfort. Now, of course, some people, that's not their brand. Maybe they're the bulldog, right?
Sure.
Maybe they're just really, how do you want people to feel? Right. And I think you and I, when people land on our pages, correct me if I'm wrong, but we want people to feel excited to be here, wanting to have fun, wanting to, meet people that are genuine and here to help others. But that's it. Like, what do you want someone to write on your thing? This account is my blank. Fill in the blank and create content that makes them feel that way. Like, that's it. And I know for a fact, because she did another TikTok recently saying that the reason she started her TikTok was to help other moms at home take some time for themselves, blah, 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 blah. And she's doing it, so go back to, how do you want people to feel? Because if you're on here just to sell stuff, I mean, yeah, we got to make money. Hello. Like,
sure.
But how do you want them to feel? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them just to laugh their butt off every day? I think you and I, we both do a mix, right? And that's fine too. But like overall, there is an overall, do you want to be the breath of fresh air in your space? Do you want to be the relief in your space? What is it? And that's it. And then the content will just flow a lot easier. And we're all going to have ruts. Then just repurpose what did well. Just do it again. Yeah.
Right. I love that. Yeah. Such good advice. Thank you so much, Shannon. Okay, before we go, we'll put it in the show notes, of course, but please say it out loud. How can people find you on social and on the internets?
On the internets, the interwebs. I'm on Instagram all the live long day, pretty much, most of the time. And I'm also active on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I'm a major LinkedIn nerd. And TikTok I like to be there too. But Instagram is where I spend most of my time. And then of course my website is just shannonmckinstrie.com, but all my handles everywhere are at Shannon McKinstrie.
Okay. Got it. And we'll link all that down below for everybody listening. Thank you so much for doing this. I mean, this is so cool to actually get to talk.
I know. It's so fun to finally talk face to face. I feel like I've known you forever. So this was awesome. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you so much.